When most people think of prison, they imagine chaos, fear, and constant violence. But prisons don't all feel the same. In the United Kingdom, prison has a very different rhythm. Still restrictive, still controlled, still unforgiving, but quieter than most expect. Today, we are going inside a UK prison, not through headlines or myths, but through daily reality. The routines, the rules, the silence. For most inmates, the first thing they notice isn't the cell. It's the quiet authority. No shouting, no dramatic scenes, just instructions, clear and firm. Belts removed, shoelaces taken, personal items recorded. Every movement is calm, deliberate, and monitored. One former inmate described it this way: it wasn't loud. It was controlled. That made it scarier. You're not rushed. You're processed. And that makes it real. The first night in a UK prison is rarely chaotic. It's quiet. Too quiet. Cells are small but clean compared to stereotypes. Usually a bed, a toilet, a small desk, sometimes a cellmate, sometimes not. Lights don't turn off when you want. They turn off when the system says so. One former inmate said, "That first night wasn't about fear. It was about realization." The door closes, and nothing distracts you from that sound. UK prisons run on routine, not suggestion, not flexibility. Routine. Wake up is early. Counts are precise. Movement is scheduled. Breakfast is basic, functional, predictable. Inmates are expected to comply, not resist. The system relies more on structure than intimidation. One inmate explained, "You learn the routine fast. Fighting it only makes things harder." Unlike some prison systems, many UK prisons allow significant time out of cell, depending on security level. Inmates may attend education classes, work assignments, workshops, exercise periods. Movement is supervised but regular. Freedom exists, but only within permission. And that distinction matters. One defining feature of UK prisons is the emphasis on rehabilitation. Education isn't optional in theory. Literacy classes, math skills, vocational training. Inmates work jobs inside prison. Kitchens, cleaning, maintenance, workshops. Pay is minimal. But purpose matters. One former inmate said, "Work gave the day shape. Without it, time feels heavier." This is what life inside a UK prison is really like. Food in UK prisons is not luxurious, but it's consistent. Meals are served at set times. Dietary needs are usually accommodated. No one lingers. Eating is functional, not social. Some inmates cook small meals in cells using kettles, where allowed. Food becomes routine, not pleasure. UK prisons are quieter than many expect. That doesn't mean calmer. Silence amplifies thoughts. Mental health struggles are common. Anxiety, depression, isolation. Support exists, but it's stretched. Appointments take time. Waiting lists are long. One inmate said, "You're expected to manage yourself." And many do, quietly. UK prison officers are present. They walk the halls. They speak directly to inmates. They enforce rules consistently. The relationship is professional, not friendly, but rarely hostile. One former inmate explained, "They talk to you like someone who'd be leaving one day." That expectation shapes behavior. Rules in UK prisons are strict, but enforcement is measured. Infractions lead to loss of privileges, restricted movement, extra supervision, not immediate confrontation. Control is subtle, but constant. Nights are long. Cells lock early. Noise fades. Some inmates read. Some write letters. Some just sit. Nights are when prison feels heaviest. One inmate said, "The day distracts you. Night makes you think." In a UK prison, not everyone is there for the same reason. Some inmates are sentenced. They know how long they'll be inside. Others are on remand, waiting for court, waiting for decisions, waiting for answers. That difference changes everything. Sentenced inmates count time. Remand prisoners live in uncertainty. One former remand inmate said, "Not knowing was worse than knowing." Remand wings are often more tense. People are anxious. Sleep is lighter. Hope fluctuates daily. For sentenced inmates, routine becomes survival. For remand inmates, uncertainty becomes the punishment. UK prisons rarely rely on constant force. They rely on predictability. Rules are enforced the same way, every day. Consequences are known. Structure never changes. This creates compliance, not fear. One former inmate explained, "You follow rules because it's easier, not because you're scared." The system trains behavior subtly, and over time, it works. Weekends feel different. Not festive, just slower. Fewer programs, less movement, more time locked in. Days stretch longer. One inmate said, "Weekends reminded you how much time you actually had." The lack of structure makes time heavier. There is hierarchy in UK prisons, but it's quieter than expected. Respect matters. Mind your space. Mind your tone. Conflict exists, but it's often avoided. One inmate said, "Most people just want to get through." Survival isn't about dominance. It's about not standing out. Boredom is constant, not accidental. Controlled boredom encourages compliance. With nothing to stimulate rebellion, inmates adapt. Reading becomes escape. Writing becomes therapy. Routine becomes comfort. One inmate said, "You stop fighting boredom. You make peace with it." Phone calls are limited. Visits are scheduled. Letters take time. Connection exists, but it's structured. No spontaneity. One inmate explained, "Your relationships change because prison controls access." Families adapt or drift away. Cells are small. You learn every sound, every shadow, every inch. Privacy is minimal, but ownership of that space matters. One former inmate said, "Your cell becomes your world." How you maintain it reflects how you're coping. Many inmates turn inward. Religion increases. Reflection deepens. Not always belief, sometimes grounding. Faith provides structure prison doesn't. One inmate said, "Faith gave me a place the prison couldn't reach." Time stretches. Days feel long. Years feel compressed. You remember dates differently. One inmate explained, "I forgot what month it was, but I always knew how long I'd been in." Time becomes abstract, but heavy. UK prisons emphasize rehabilitation, but resources are stretched. Programs exist. Access varies. Some inmates benefit deeply. Others wait too long. One former inmate said, "Help was there, but you had to keep asking." Motivation matters. As release approaches, pressure builds. Courses, meetings, plans. But fear grows too, because freedom means responsibility. One inmate said, "Prison told me when to wake up. Freedom doesn't." Re-entry is both relief and stress. UK prison doesn't break you loudly. It breaks you quietly. Through repetition. Through restriction. Through predictability. People leave changed. More cautious. More controlled. Less spontaneous. One former inmate said, "I didn't realize how much I'd adapted until I left." Release day in a UK prison is not dramatic. There's no cheering. No announcement. No final speech. It arrives quietly. Paperwork. Signatures. Property returned. One former inmate said, "I walked out holding a plastic bag and didn't know how to feel." You expect joy. Instead, you feel exposed. Years of structure disappear in minutes. Freedom feels overwhelming at first. Noise is louder. Choices feel heavy. Time moves too fast. One former inmate explained, "Prison slows your mind down. The world doesn't wait for it to catch up." Crossing a street feels strange. Making decisions feels stressful. Freedom isn't immediate relief. It's adjustment. UK prison teaches routine. And those routines linger. Former inmates still wake early. Still eat quickly. Still ask permission in their head. One said, "I realized prison followed me home." The body leaves first. The mind takes longer. Family reunions aren't always emotional scenes. Sometimes they're quiet. Relationships changed while time stood still. Children grew. Parents aged. Dynamics shifted. One former inmate said, "Everyone expected me to be the same. I wasn't." Love remains, but familiarity takes time. In the UK, a criminal record shapes opportunity. Job applications. Housing. Trust. Some doors close silently. Others open slowly. One former inmate explained, Prison ended, but consequences didn't. Reintegration is a process, not an event. Not all inmates want release. That sounds shocking, but it's real. Prison offers predictability, structure clear, rules the outside world offers uncertainty. One former inmate admitted, "Inside, I knew who I was supposed to be." Freedom requires self-direction. And that's intimidating. Release doesn't end mental strain. Anxiety remains. Hyper-awareness lingers. Trust is slow to return. Support exists, but gaps remain. One former inmate said, "People think prison ends at the gate. It doesn't." Recovery takes time. UK prison teaches compliance. It teaches patience. It teaches routine. Sometimes it teaches reflection. But it can also teach passivity. One former inmate reflected, "I learned how to follow rules. I had to relearn how to lead myself." Transformation is possible, but not guaranteed. UK prison works best for inmates who engage with programs, accept structure plan for release it struggles with. Overcrowding, limited resources, mental health needs. No system is perfect. But intention matters. What most people never see is the waiting. Waiting to eat. Waiting to move. Waiting to hear back. Prison is mostly waiting. And waiting changes people. Years after release, former inmates still notice changes. Crowds feel different. Authority feels heavier. Silence feels familiar. One former inmate said, "I still measure time like I'm inside." Prison leaves fingerprints. UK prison doesn't define everyone, but it marks everyone. It removes freedom quietly, returns it suddenly, and leaves adjustment to the individual. And that is the reality behind the walls. When people talk about prison, they often talk in extremes. Too harsh, too soft, too easy, too hard. But life inside a UK prison doesn't fit neatly into those arguments. It isn't chaotic. It isn't comfortable. It is controlled, repetitive, and quietly demanding. Days are shaped by routine. Choices are limited. Time becomes something you manage rather than live. UK prisons are designed with the idea that people will return to society. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. But the truth is this: most inmates don't leave prison unchanged. They leave quieter, more cautious, more aware of time. And the real measure of any prison system isn't what happens inside the walls. It's what happens after people walk out. If this video changed how you see prison life, consider subscribing for more real stories and honest perspectives on life behind bars. Because understanding prison means understanding what it does to people, long after the doors open.